Hey Steelers Nation, welcome back to the channel, where we bring you the latest, boldest, and most passionate Pittsburgh Steelers news. The black and gold are working harder than ever this offseason to perfect their roster and build a team that can truly compete for a Super Bowl. As always, we're here to break it all down for you. Before we jump into today's big story, smash that like button to support the channel and help more Steelers fans find us. Let's dive in. Steelers Nation, we've got a blockbuster on our hands. George Pickens is gone. The Pittsburgh Steelers have officially finalized a trade with the Dallas Cowboys, sending the electric and often polarizing wide receiver to Jerry World in exchange for a third-round pick and a day 3 pick swap. Now, let's be honest. This caught most of us off guard. The timing is strange, and many fans thought Pickens had at least until the trade deadline to prove himself. But apparently, the front office had enough. The moment they got an offer they liked, they pulled the trigger. But was it really that bad behind the scenes? Well, according to insider Peter Schrager, maybe not. Schrager recently dropped some revealing comments on ESPN's Get Up, saying, "I've talked to the Steelers folks. George Pickens is demonstrative on the field, but he is not an uncoachable player. In fact, he does have a great way about him in the locker room and is very well liked in Pittsburgh. So let's pause there." Despite all the noise and on-field drama, Pickens was reportedly liked by his teammates. That doesn't sound like a locker room cancer. It sounds like a young, emotional player who hadn't learned to control his fire. Let's face it, Pickens has always been a wild card. From his Georgia days to his NFL debut, he's been known as a fierce competitor with a chip on his shoulder. His sideline outbursts, always after losses. And that's a big clue. In 2024, we saw a pattern, frustration boiling over when the team failed. Eye-black messages after the Colts game, shoving matches after interceptions, unnecessary roughness, penalties, all signs of a player who hates losing more than anything else. You could even argue that's exactly the kind of fire the Steelers need if it's channeled the right way. Let's rewind a bit. Remember when Mason Rudolph praised Pickens for staying mature in a game where he didn't have a single reception? That's not a diva move. That's growth. But apparently, it wasn't enough. The front office seems to have drawn a line in the sand. They weren't willing to wait and see if Pickens could figure it out emotionally. They saw value, took the deal, and now Pittsburgh has yet another hole in its receiver room. So here's the question. Was this about Pickens being uncoachable? Or was this about the Steelers' own coaching failing to reach him? Mike Tomlin is one of the best in the league when it comes to connecting with his players, especially those with big personalities. He's managed star receivers before, but this move raises a question. Are Tomlin's messages hitting the same as they used to? Schrager says Pickens was coachable, so if that's true, maybe the issue wasn't the player. Maybe it was the structure around him. This isn't the first time we've seen Pittsburgh deal a talented wideout for less than full value. Remember Chase Claypool, Juju, Antonio Brown? There's a pattern here, and it's one Steelers fans know all too well. Let's shift gears to the defense, because there's been a lot of talk about a possible reunion with former nickel cornerback Mike Hilton. But according to Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, that door is closed. Hilton, now 31, remains a free agent after leaving Pittsburgh in 2021 to sign with the rival Bengals. Fans have long hoped for a return, especially with the secondary, being one of the weakest links on this team last season. But the front office has made it clear they're going younger and they're betting on their current guys. Beanie Bishop Jr., the undrafted rookie sensation from last season, is getting a real shot to win the nickel job. And Brandon Eccles, signed to a 2-year deal in free agency, is right there with him. Fittipaldo put it plainly. There's a reason Hilton remains unsigned, and it speaks more to where he is in his career than to what he once brought to the defense. Hilton was a beast in run support and blitz packages, but at 31, asking him to step back into the slot and keep up with the league's fastest wideouts, that's a big gamble. And it's one the Steelers don't appear willing to take. Instead, they're trusting in Bishop, who, by the way, recorded 4 interceptions as a rookie while being thrown into the fire. The kid has serious instincts, and if he can take another leap this season, the Steelers may finally have the nickel corner they've been missing. And don't forget, they added veteran leadership on the outside with Darius Slay. Between Slay and Joey Porter Jr., the boundary is locked down. Now it's just about who holds down the slot. Let's recap. Steelers Nation, George Pickens, one of the most electric and emotional young receivers in the league, is now a Dallas Cowboy. The Steelers moved on, despite some inside voices saying he was liked in the locker room and not a locker room cancer. It's a high-risk move. You don't replace that kind of talent easily. Meanwhile, the secondary rebuild continues. No Mike, Hilton reunion, no nostalgia plays. Just a bet on the youth movement, with Bishop and Echols leading the charge and Slay adding wisdom on the outside. But now the big question is back on the fans. Did the Steelers make the right call with Pickens? Was this a necessary move for locker room stability, or will it come back to haunt us when he's lighting up defenses in Dallas? And on the other side, do you trust Beanie Bishop and Brandon Echols to hold down that nickel spot? Or should Pittsburgh still be on the phone with Hilton's agent? Let us know what you think in the comments below. We want to hear your takes on both of these huge updates. Let's start with the facts. The Steelers shocked fans and analysts alike by pulling the trigger on a deal that sends wide receiver George Pickens to the Cowboys. In return, Pittsburgh receives a third-round pick and a day 3 pick swap. The timing? Weird. The decision? Controversial. But the deal? Official. Now, love him or hate him, George Pickens was a lightning rod, a physically dominant, emotionally raw, fiercely competitive wide receiver. Fans saw the highlights, the toe-tap sideline grabs, the raw fire. But the coaching staff? They also saw the missed routes, the on-field outbursts, and that unpredictable streak that made him both a weapon and a liability. Still, you don't just replace George Pickens overnight. So, the big question becomes, what does this mean for the Steelers' offense, and more importantly, for a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's been rumored to be circling the Pittsburgh orbit for months now? Here's where things get spicy. With Pickens gone, many fans are wondering, is this the kind of move that could drive Aaron Rodgers away? Could he see this as a downgrade in talent and decide to retire or look elsewhere? According to longtime Steelers insider Jerry Dulac, who spoke on the Dan Patrick Show, the answer is a resounding no. I don't think so, Dulac said. They don't think so. From their end, it doesn't have any impact at all on if he signs with the team. So let's pause right there. The Steelers don't believe the Pickens trade changes Rodgers' decision. But is that optimism realistic? Dulac adds another wrinkle, saying Rodgers probably wouldn't have meshed well with Pickens anyway. Aaron Rodgers didn't get to where he is as a future Hall of Famer by being an undisciplined fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants quarterback, which is kind of the description you could apply to George Pickens. Think about that for a second. Rodgers is meticulous, obsessive with timing, and demands perfection from his receivers. Pickens? Talented, yes, but known to freelance routes, lose focus, and get caught up in emotional outbursts. That kind of mismatch could have led to real tension on the field. So ironically, removing Pickens from the equation might make Pittsburgh a better fit for Rodgers, not a worse one. But here's the reality check. With Pickens gone, the Steelers' WR room is thin, really thin. Here's what's left. Robert Woods, aging vet Calvin Austin III, speedy but unproven Roman Wilson, rookie with potential, but raw Scotty Miller, Ben Skowronek, and some depth names. This is not exactly a room that screams super. Bowl ready, especially not if Rodgers steps in and expects to light it up. And that brings us to the next critical point. ESPN's Brooke Pryor recently reported that the Steelers may not even want an explosive air-it-out offense, even if Rodgers comes on board. They're thinking balance. They're thinking stability. While Metcalf and Pickens playing together could have made for an explosive and high-flying passing attack, especially with Rodgers at quarterback, the Steelers want to have a more balanced offense with a strong run game, Pryor wrote. Let's not forget, Najee Harris is gone. But Pittsburgh brought in Caleb Johnson from Iowa in the draft, re-signed Jaylen Warren, and picked up Kenneth Gainwell in free agency. This team is building an offense that's more about reducing volatility than chasing highlight reels. That might not sell jerseys, but it could win games. So, what does all this say about Aaron Rodgers and how he'd actually fit in? One thing we know, Rodgers holds his receivers to a ridiculously high standard. In Green Bay and New York, we've seen him call out young WRs for imprecise routes and mental mistakes. George Pickens was notorious for both. Even Pryor agreed, writing, "Rodgers is notorious in holding his receivers to high standards, especially in their route running, and Pickens has a history of not running the correct routes or finishing his routes." It's possible that Rodgers, despite Pickens' natural talent, wouldn't have trusted him on the field. And if there's one thing Rodgers hates, it's throwing to a guy he doesn't trust. In that light, the trade could actually make Rodgers more comfortable, knowing he won't have to constantly worry about whether his top target is where he's supposed to be. That's it for today's video. Steelers family, if you stuck around this long, you're a real one. Don't forget to drop a like to support the channel and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We've got more videos coming all week long. OTA breakdowns, roster analysis, and all the latest rumors you won't hear anywhere else. Until next time, here we go, Steelers.